Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. by formally recognizing that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. As settlers, we're grateful for the opportunity to be good stewards of this land. Good evening, everyone. I will call this taken care of this place for thousands of years. In particular, we acknowledge the proud heritage of our neighbors from the Alderville First Nation and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council amend the December 21st, 2020 Council agenda by adding a closed session item pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended 239(2)A. It says security of the property of the municipality or local board being COVID pandemic. Okay. So security of the property of the municipality or local board, specifically issues surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that Council amend the December 21st, 2020 Council agenda by adding a bylaw to Section 12.2 to appoint temporary law enforcement officers during the COVID-19 pandemic for the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that Council approve the December 21st, 2020 Council agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And I'll ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. I'll ask members of council if you have any announcements this evening. Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, I would like to announce that basically at the dog park, when they had the fundraiser for the food bank, they raised $425 and a truckload of perishables for the food bank, and they were quite impressed with it.
Nicely done. Thank you. Any other announcements? Councillor Bateman?
Not really an announcement, but I just want to take the opportunity to wish everybody in this room a safe and Merry Christmas, and anybody that is watching at home.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, one more. The baskets, which was Love Your Town, the last time I checked with them, they had sold 96 baskets. And there was orders coming in, so they're probably going to be over 100 for the first year, which is pretty good. Thank you. And it's all products made in Brighton.
Nicely done. Good local business initiative. Thank you. Anyone else? Move on to the adoption of the minutes. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council approved the December 7th, 2020 council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council approve the December 14th, 2020 planning meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We have no delegations this evening. We do have citizens' comment. 5 members of the public have asked to make citizens' comments. And I will just read the rules surrounding citizens' comment. The citizens' comment section is for a maximum of 10 minutes, leaving each speaker with 2 minutes per agenda item, and only decisions, unless a decision is made by council of the whole or committee of the whole to extend this time period. So for council's information, there was some anomalous information on the website noting that each citizen's comment could provide 3 minutes, and there are people who have prepared 3 minutes. So if it's okay with council, and assuming all 5 people were to go 3 minutes, it would be a maximum of 15 minutes tonight. But for the record and moving into the future, we will allow 10 minutes and 2 minutes per speaker. The rules of conduct, the following matters will not be permitted during citizens' comments. Comments or complaints against members of council or staff, matters beyond the jurisdiction of council, closed session agenda items, comments with respect to minutes of council or advisory boards, comments that are contrary to the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, comments with respect to any applications which have proceeded through a public meeting. And so just to be clear, however, where is it here? Somewhere here. That all comments must be with regard to reports on the agenda. I think I saw that somewhere. What I just read there, with the exception of comment related to a recommendation contained within a staff report. Thank you. So for those people making citizens comment this evening, the staff report is with regard to the zoning of the property and not with regard to a site plan or a condominium approval. So I would ask that your citizens' comments, because this has already gone through a public meeting process, that your comments please be specific to the zoning issue. And so I first call upon Joe Shannon to make your citizens' comment. Joe? Joe, if you can unmute your microphone on Zoom.
Okay,
There you go.
can you hear me now? Good evening, Mayor Ostrander, members of council, administration and staff, and fellow citizens. My name is Joe Shannon, and I live at 11 Pier Drive with my family, and our property borders the proposed Butler Creek condominium development. In the past year, people in our neighborhood have expressed issues that we have with the proposal through letters to the town, citizens' comments at meetings, a delegation, a public meeting of November of 2019. Our concerns are legitimate and cover everything from drainage, traffic and parking, to character, privacy, from our own viewpoint, the inability of these condominiums to blend into the surrounding neighborhood. I do, however, commend our planning department for appreciating the importance of connecting Nautical Lane and Pier Drive, and that the current proposal does not meet the test of section 51(24)E regarding street connections. It was also noted in the 102-page report by our planning department that the original plan to grade the field so that water will drain north toward Butler Creek will simply not work. Now, according to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, section 10, under the land use planning, I'd like to remind the mayor and council that you do have the authority to reject any development that can be shown against the best interests of the municipality that you were elected to serve. In addition to this, you have site plan control regarding how a particular property is developed, and that the municipalities can regulate various features on the site. Matters that we've talked about before, character, appearance, for instance, a stone or brick facade, elevations, grades, landscaping, and so on. Now, at the end of the day, if all the concerns and issues with the plan are solved to yours and the planning department's satisfaction, I ask you to please recommend a berm to be built going east-west on the south side of the field. Berms are often used as noise reduction between a subdivision and a highway. But in this case, a berm combined with a swale may be able to solve, or at least be a partial solution to some of our problems. A berm with a swale combination can reduce stormwater runoff if it is gently sloped to tap into the stormwater system. It can be a natural transition between the two very different types of residential developments. A berm can be integrated into the landscape design, and with trees and shrubs and possibly a fence on the berm, it will act as a visual screen and give both areas the privacy we all want. I sent Tom Street some pictures of the general idea of what a berm looks like. So all in all, a berm or swale combination could be a natural, eco-friendly privacy screen that looks beautiful and can manage water runoff. Perhaps a win-win. I know that tonight there is a lot to think about, and I hope that you value our contributions, comments, ideas, and our concerns. Thank you, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Joe, and thank you very much. Our next person offering a citizen's comment is Hyacinthe Eykelhof. And I believe they're all in the same they're coming in from the same Zoom call.
Good evening. Honorable Mayor, members of Town Council, staff members, and members of the public. My name is Hyacinthe Eykelhof, and I live at 50 Nautical Lane, directly adjacent to the Grimes Field. First of all, I would like to commend our planning department on their recommendations regarding the rezoning of the Butler Creek condominium development, including the connection of Pier and Nautical, an internal roadway to connect Cedar to the west, and the public parkland adjacent to Butler Creek. Parking is still a possible issue, as has been mentioned numerous times before. Mr. LeBlanc does not believe there's a problem, but it clearly states in the newsletter from Port Hope Condo Development that it is still a problem. They suggest parking at the Ball Diamond across the street. The parkettes across Cedar Street do not have very much room. They are unpaved and would involve crossing a major street, Cedar, not to mention barely accessible in the winter if there's a snowfall of any significance. I now wish to reiterate that the connection between Pier and Nautical will have so many positive advantages. There will be no issues with turnaround for larger courier trucks, garbage and recycling trucks, and of course, snowplows. We'll also relieve the piling of snow at the end of Nautical. On a personal note, these heavy trucks will no longer be using my driveway to turn around, as my asphalt is now starting to crack because of it. The residents of this area have no problem with the development of Grimes Field, but are rather concerned about the size of the development and its general appearance. That is, they are all identical, unlike the surrounding neighborhoods where the houses have stone facades, driveways, etc. We definitely need affordable housing, but how affordable will these condos actually be with the increased cost of supplies and the housing market prices and condo fees constantly increasing both here and throughout Ontario? Many of these points come under site plan control, and you as Town Council have the ultimate power over the site plan. Thank you for listening, and I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, and to all a good night.
Thank you, Hyacinthe, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
Person offering a citizen's comment is Austin Watts. Austin?
Hello, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillors, Planner, and staff. My name's Austin Watts. I live at 51 Nautical Lane in Brighton. I'm going to be referring to the RFA plan and Consulting Inc. page 8, and I'm just going to cite some correspondence between the town and the developer, and I'll add my own citizens' comments after that. Nautical Lane and Pier, this is the community public works here. Nautical Lane and Pier Drive were never intended nor designed to be cul-de-sac streets. The municipality is requiring the streets be looped along with the underground infrastructure with the servicing maintenance easement in favor of the municipality and emergency egress. Mr. LeBlanc, the developer's response to this was, these streets are currently operating and functioning as cul-de-sacs. As discussed in the December planning submissions, residents were strongly opposed to the new road connection. The revised correspondent responds to the concerns of the residents by eliminating any possible traffic on these local roads while providing a second controlled access. So my personal citizens' comments in regards to this correspondence, these temporary cul-de-sacs are not functioning. They create major challenges to the residents and operations staff. A thank you to residents and operations staff for having the patience to wait for these cul-de-sacs to be terminated and properly aligned. I personally have sent several emails to council and the planning department voicing safety and operational efficiency issues, being assured these issues would be addressed. Please also note the member of the community who presented the strong opposition was new to the community, residing less than 1 year and not having full knowledge of the challenges these temporary features place on the community, especially as they apply to Nautical Lane. The developer, Mr. LeBlanc, comments on the topic are disingenuous at the very least. He only took one small element of the community members' concern. He simply cherry-picked the road element. Had he been genuine and shown true concern, he would have also removed the condo pods indicated and pushed the entire development north. The developer, Mr. Blanc, again showed his disingenuousness or a strategy regarding Butler Creek Trail. During the last presentation, he proposed extending Butler Creek Trail. I think all members of council were surprised when it was indicated during the last meeting that Butler Creek Trail would be closed to the residents of Brighton, the portion passing through the condo development becoming private. I'd like to have a short talk as well on the stormwater and spring melt issue. During each development proposed presented to this point provides for very little water permeability. Thus, the vast majority of stormwater, spring melt, and stockpile melt will either enter Butler Creek or our stormwater system. The developer's engineering team has suggested pulse water, surge water mediation as a solution. The storm melt water would not be an issue as it would be in the system prior to Butler Creek reaching maximum flow. While this suggestion may be relevant in the perfect world, it's not relevant in the real world. When you consider spring melt, Butler Creek can be at maximum capacity for extended periods of time. Then consider the very real likelihood of an additional weather event, not to mention real world issues such as ice, beaver dams, deadfall, 100-year or Timmins flood events. It's easy to foresee more Cedar Street flooding events and possible damage to the road and box culvert under Cedar Street. I would strongly recommend council consider these points during their decision-making process and possibly call for a lower density development, which would allow for more water permeation in and reduce water into our stormwater system. And just a point of note here, after reading the document completely, in regards to the LTC and other stakeholders and engineering comments, I see no reference to stormwater flow restrictions due to the box culvert under Cedar Street. I personally have not done measurements to determine the maximum volume, its maximum volume. However, I have, and your operations people also have witnessed this exceed maximum capacity diverting water over Cedar Street in the past. I now conclude my comments. I too would like to take a moment and wish council a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Austin, and Merry Christmas to you as well. Our next citizen's comment comes from Cheryl Duxbury. And
Hello,
hi, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm not too bad. And yourself?
Well, thank you. So you may proceed with your comment.
Okay, good evening to council members and Honorable Mayor Brian Ostrander. I am wanting to speak about the Butler Creek condominium proposal. We currently live at 18 Pier Drive. We are adjacent to the property. We are on the east side of Pier Drive, the very last house on east side on Pier Drive. Now, my questions and concerns go back to when we purchased our properties 5 years ago, having to sign a covenant, which is a legal binding document that we had to sign in accordance to keep our homes in the same fashion as what was already in the existing neighborhood. Now that meant that homes facing the street had to have a brick facade or a full brick facade, a skirting facade or a full brick facade. Homes that are facing two sides of the street, being maybe a corner home, also had to sign a covenant saying that the fronts of these homes facing directly onto a road had to have brick or some sort of stone or rock facing on the front. So we had to sign these 5 years ago. We were told what was going to be going in beside us 5 years ago, and that it would comply with the existing neighborhood. Us as residents in this neighborhood on Pier Drive, on Nautical Drive, on Forest Drive, on Tall Pines Drive, do not believe that these coincide with the existing neighborhood. The only thing that they do coincide with is that they are low rise. Hello?
Is that your comment, Cheryl?
That's my comment.
Okay.
That's part of my comment. But again, when talking about the how this is going to look per se, if you look around our neighborhoods, if you look around Brighton, the south end of Brighton, what is being built? Every other builder and developer is complying with what the town and neighborhoods already look like. They are building semis, they are building townhomes, and they are beautiful because they coincide with what is already in the neighborhood. Henderson Homes has done this. Toby Homes have done this. McDonald Homes have done this. How does a builder get to come here and say what he wants to do with us not having any say whatsoever into how this 128 unit complex looks to the rest of the community of Brighton?
So I'll thank you for your comments. We're not to provide comment back to you during citizens' comment, but there will be opportunity for you to speak to that at another public meeting when the developer does bring forward a site plan. Would it be a site plan, Mr. Walsh? Or a subdivision agreement. So, but there will be public discourse on that.
Okay, but may I ask one thing? In reading the report, that the builder is asking for an exemption of that site plan?
Well, the builder can ask anything they want. We will require either a site plan or a subdivision agreement to be signed.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our next citizen's comment comes from Conrad Ostrander.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, Conrad. Welcome.
Well, hi. Good evening, Mayor Ostrander, Deputy Mayor, and council members. My name is Conrad Ostrander. I live at 17 Pier Drive. I'm discussing agenda item number 9, staff reports, para 9.1, article 3B2, which quotes the approval of a condominium subdivision application that involves conveyance to the satisfaction of the municipality. And it states sufficient lands to establish an extended public street that connects Pier Drive and Nautical Lane. Myself and several of my neighbors are opposed to the joining of Pier Drive and Nautical Lane. Because of our opposition to the initial development plan, Mr. LeBlanc has produced 2 additional plans with the third capping Pier Drive and placing a large parking lot just north of Pier Drive and emergency access point north of Nautical Lane, combined with another parking lot. Now, make no mistake that we are opposed to the proposed condominium development. However, plan number 3 would somehow provide us with a little more privacy due to the construction of a fence between the development and the existing neighborhood, clears our fees of visiting vehicles parking on our streets to gain access to the condominiums during weekends or busy holidays, and to provide a safer location for children to play or ride their bikes along the street here. There has been many discussions that it's very difficult for snow plows or garbage trucks to turn around at the end of the street. I'm quite sure this is not the only road a vehicle is required to turn around in the municipality. I've lived here for over 5 years and have never seen a snowplow have difficulty turning around. And I've observed garbage trucks having a worker on the back of the truck providing guidance to the driver, or at least a backup camera where the driver can safely back up. On rare occasions, perhaps a truck has gone over the curb, but remained on established easements, not further up onto personal property. Furthermore, not having this road put in would save a great deal of money for the municipality. Thank you for your time, and we wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you as well, Conrad. Thank you for your comments, and thank you all for coming to council virtually and letting us know how you feel about this development. And before I read the motion, I will just offer a reminder that tonight we're not being asked to approve a subdivision or approve a condominium or a site plan. We're being asked to approve a zoning amendment to our bylaw, which would allow then the developer to continue their plans and then provide information to our planning department, at which point we may be asked to consider a site plan and or a subdivision agreement as it moves forward. But tonight is the request is a zoning bylaw amendment, which is just an overlay policy for bylaws and for zoning in the municipality. Nothing else is going to be, if anything is approved, nothing else is going to be approved except that. And if it is approved, there is a request from the planning department that we put a holding provision in zoning, which would mean that nothing can happen until council removes that holding. No building, no infrastructure, nothing can happen on those lands from a public infrastructure point of view. So I just wanted to offer that information. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receives the citizens' comments from the December 21st, 2020 council meeting. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just the fact that these same people and any others will have more opportunities to speak about their concerns.
More and better opportunities.
Yes.
Yes. Through our planning department and through the planning process.
And just to follow that, tonight was not wasted because that information has come to the council and all the staff that are here and so that it puts it in their minds what people are feeling, and also maybe reveals some safety concerns or whatever. So I just want to reassure them that tonight wasn't wasted, but there's more opportunities.
So certainly not wasted. Never a wasted opportunity to engage with the public, as you know, Councillor Tadman. But I would certainly encourage the 5 people who presented this evening to be in touch with planning when the next stage, when that subdivision agreement and or site plan becomes part of the public discourse. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Which takes us into the staff report. Mr. Walsh, we've read your staff report with regard to the application to amend zoning bylaw 140/2002. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Mayor, I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation just to summarize the development and maybe assist some of the persons tuning in to understand the more recent information.
I'll turn the floor over to you, sir.
So just to confirm, if anyone's confused at which part of the agenda, we are dealing with the Butler Creek Condos application that's referred to, and it's zoning bylaw amendment file number Z18-2019 under an Ontario Limited Number Company. And here's the key map showing the location of the lands. Not shown here is Butler Creek. Butler Creek diagonally dissects the property approximately half in north and south halves. And we can see some of the adjoining traffic or the street network to it. And in particular, Cedar Street, the main, what I would characterize as a collector road. I believe our official plan describes it as a collector road as well. So Cedar Street flanking its easterly side. So the recommendation is to approve the zoning bylaw amendment. It would change it from a future development zone and an environmental protection zone to a special urban residential type 3 zone, subject to a holding provision, as the mayor pointed out, and as well as maintain and redefine the environmental protection zone. The redefined environmental protection zone would now include a 30-meter buffer area. The 30-meter buffer area is the result of an environmental impact study done by the firm Cambium on behalf of the applicant. The special urban residential type 3 holding zone will be subject to those holding provisions that need to be met prior to council removing the holding symbol through way of a subsequent zoning bylaw amendment application. Those provisions are an executed site plan agreement. That site plan agreement would lay out internal lanes, building envelopes, any facilities and services needed to support that, a landscaping plan, and other such matters as would normally be dealt with under site plan. That would also include stormwater management. Item B, that a condominium/subdivision application be submitted and finally approved by the municipality. In the plan justification report submitted on behalf of the applicant by RFA planning consultant, they make reference to the intention of a condominium tenure and exactly at what point that would be established. There was some question about an exemption. So when we deal with a zoning bylaw amendment, the Condominium Act allows for an exemption if all the matters that would normally be dealt with under a condominium application are actually being approved and reviewed and approved through a planning act application. And so that's what we're dealing with here, is a consideration of the planning act. So it's not uncommon that once something is zoned to permit a residential development, if the notices are indicating that it's intended to be a future condominium tenure, that they then apply for exemption from the Condominium Act, since they've already went through that same parallel approvals process. So that's just some explanation to the one question that was raised by the member of the public. And the other item subject to holding is that sufficient lands be established, conveyed to the municipality, providing an east-west internal public roadway that would connect Cedar Street to the westerly adjoining lands in an appropriate geometric alignment. And that sufficient lands be conveyed to the municipality to extend public streets that would represent extensions of Pier Drive and Nautical Lane to that east-west internal road. Thirdly, conveyance of lands for the purposes of establishing public parkland. The applicant has offered to convey all of the land that's subject to the revised environmental protection zone to the municipality for the purposes of a future park, in particular a trail. And C, and lastly, I believe that a supplemental traffic impact statement and supplemental stormwater management report in support of the subdivision/condominium and site plan agreement be presented to the satisfaction of the municipality. So there's a lot of work to be done here yet, and but work that has been done will be very beneficial. But now with these internal roads, changes the terms of reference for things like the stormwater management report and traffic impact report. So that's now needing to be revisited. This was covered on September 14th when we dealt with this under the statutory public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendment. Just for convenience of reference, we see that there was a number of reports and studies done to support the application. And one mentioned was the environmental impact study by Cambium, and subject to peer review, they did do a supplemental addendum to address some additional issues. So at the September 14th meeting, excuse me, Council was presented with 32 fourplex units for a total of 128 dwelling units, with the EP zone the same as what's being presented here tonight in the zoning bylaw amendment. And this is the last concept plan that Council was considering, and we heard reference tonight to persons who commented on this concept plan, particularly maybe the gated cul-de-sacs of Nautical and Pier. There is a revised development concept that does involve the new roadways as I've just described. And here it is here. So I'm not sure if everyone in the public had a benefit of coming up to speed with this. They would have only probably received this or had a chance to review it by opening up the agenda tonight and seeing this particular attachment. So here is the first revised development concept from the proponent, where we have the internal road going east-west, starting at Cedar Drive and then adjoining the westerly lands. and allowing for connections to pier and nautical. Staff are generally supportive of this. This has been an ask by the municipal staff for a number of reasons, as referenced in the report. So staff are generally receptive and supportive of this. And one of the reasons being here is the network of streets. There's a bit of a mistake on here. Some of the alignments, it's been a previous concept is shown, but I think it's sufficient in demonstrating that this parcel to the west, the adjoining lands, has some frustrated access. And as such, traffic, once it's developed, and the estimate is around 100 to 150 units. That's a lot of homes that would really be all by default through traffic dampening of lesser convenient connections, largely going through one street. That would be Iroquois Avenue. There would be some opportunities to egress south, but again, it would be a bit of a circuitous route, frustrating the traffic movement. So I think it would be safe to say that most of the traffic movements would be going out that one street, and in my opinion, it would be overloading that street. And so through the course of discussions with the proponent, we expressed the need for a connecting east-west road, so it would allow for additional egress from those adjoining lands to go in both directions, and to generally have a better, evenly distributed flow of traffic, allow for emergency services, allow for more integrated neighborhoods, and better just general distribution and flow, redundancy of servicing backups, a number of reasons. In general, this is representative of best practices in neighborhood and street network design. It's important to note that the revised zoning bylaw amendment now, at the request of the applicant, includes single detached homes and semi-detached homes. So in general, the overall density of development is going down. And it's a bit of a, I guess ideally, I mean, if we're in terms of a planning objective, we kind of like to achieving higher densities today, but I think the densities are still appropriate when we take a look at the mix of uses and some of the issues that the neighbors have alluded to, that this will be a nice mix of style of homes by virtue of this revision to the zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed minimum off-street parking stalls is 1.5 per dwelling unit in the zoning bylaw amendment. That hasn't changed. That was in the original. And the final form of the development and street layout will be determined through the subsequent approvals of council in the form of a subdivision / condominium application and a site plan control application. Are there any questions of council for staff?
Members of council? Councillor Anderson.
Who would pay for this road, the new road, east-west?
Mr. Walsh?
Under the development charges bylaw, there is a local service policy, and the local service policy says that when a roadway is servicing the development primarily, that it's the developer's costs. But if it's a collector road servicing more than that immediate development, then there is the cost would be shared through the development charges reserve of the municipality. We've had some discussions with Watson and Associates, the author of our development charges bylaw. So additional discussions need to be had with the consultant about how best to apply that policy, and also maybe have some consideration when we update our development charges bylaw in the early new year.
So when would we have a better idea of that? Do we need to wait for the site plan and that type of thing before we have an idea of that, or of the sharing? You mentioned sharing the costs.
Yes, I expect that's when all those details will come together through one, through the subdivision draft conditions.
Go ahead. Okay, Councillor Bateman.
Just a question, because what's before us tonight is just to rezone it, if we agree, from environmentally protected to special urban residential. So if council does that, and I know it says in there, it said recommendation that there'd be a 30-meter buffer. If we rezone this, does that truly become a recommendation? And I'm not saying the developer would come back without the buffer, but technically if we rezone this, could they with no buffer?
So what the motion will read, Councillor Bateman, is that council rezone from future development and environmental protection to special urban residential, et cetera, and environmental protection with a 30-meter buffer.
I just wanted to clarify, because I saw the word recommendation. I just didn't want it to come back. And I'm not saying the developer would do that, but all of a sudden the buffer disappears and we've rezoned it. They can do what they want.
So if we pass this rezoning, we will be adding the 30-meter buffer to the EP zone. So we'll actually have an enhanced EP zone in that area of the community. Any further questions? Councillor Tadman?
Thank you, Mayor. There was some talk about not extending the trail from, I think everybody here knows where it comes up through Butler Creek to the park there. And always the intention was for the trail to then be extended across the road. So I believe we would rather have the trail to the north side than the south side, because we'd have to be thinking about a bridge. You know, when you come across at Cedar Street, so we'd want to probably go up and go north. And it's too bad Mr. Miller, the park director, isn't here right now, but that's how it was talked about when we were doing the trails. So will we have a 30? I guess my question is, will we have a 30 buffer zone on the north side too? And will that accommodate a trail?
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, that hasn't been part of the zoning bylaw amendment. It was originally discussed in lieu of the south side. Once the south side was given further review by staff, that it was felt that the south side was actually much higher quality. Plus, it looked like at the recommendation, I believe, Laura Trent, that they were looking to have those lands conveyed to the municipality anyway. And the provincial policy statement emphasizes public access to water. And the condominium was originally proposing a private park, when really, in terms of a planning recommendation, we need to ensure public access to water. And in terms of recreational planning and programming, it was suggested or decided by staff through this recommendation to council that it would be better to have, or be very desirable to have, a short circuit loop around the creek too. So that would involve a bridge at some point. The north side of the trail will go parallel Butler's Creek and egress out to Butler Street as well. But there does need to be a crossing that to create that shorter circuit or loop.
But just as a follow-up to Councillor Tadman, has Mr. Miller offered his advice on this from a Parks and Recreation and Trails master planning point of view?
Yes, yeah, Mr. Miller was he attended on site and we walked it together.
And it's likely when the northern lands come forward for development that we would be asking for a similar dedication given the provincial policy statement. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Okay. Councillor Rowley.
And I think my question was just answered, but if you look at the map, there is a whole lot of dedicated parkland on the north side of the creek as well. So I'm sure that that can be developed for that. Just one question regarding the number of homes now. Mr. Walsh, you said that there could be changes in the subdivision agreement, that it won't all be fourplexes now, that Mr. LeBlanc has agreed to maybe taking a number of those, taking into consideration maybe some single and some semis instead of all quads?
Through Mayor, that's correct. So I put up the air photo showing what the proponent suggested for the east-west road, and we see residential blocks / lots on the south side of it. So my understanding, or my my hunch, I guess I shouldn't say my understanding. We haven't had that fulsome discussion, to be honest with you, but the ask for single detached and semi, I believe, are in response to some of the neighbors' concerns, and these blocks will be used for those purposes.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you. So Mr. LeBlanc is working well under the number of living units that could be proposed for that area at this stage, right? I know 128 wasn't really the maximum yet, but now he's going even lower than that, which is.
That's correct.
Okay.
He's with the inclusion of singles and semis, by default, you're moving from fourplexes to larger units, that there would be a slight decrease in density.
Again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor LeBlanc. No relation to the developer.
None whatsoever. He doesn't know how to make a roppy pie. Anyway, so the one thing on the through you, Chair, for the CAO, the reports that were written by KBM on the stormwater management, did they cross out doing something about with a Peterson event for stormwater management because of the concern of Butler Creek flooding? They just went with the 100-year plan. And if they did or didn't, is there any way I could review these reports?
Mr. Gasselman?
Good question. Beyond my pay grade, I think, and I'm going to defer to either our planner or our CET.
Through your worship, yeah, they've come up with a couple of proposals. We're really trying to work with them. They want to push a certain percentage straight into the Butler Creek and then a percentage down to the Harbor Point Pond, but there's some restrictions to the south. So we're still working through all those details, and they haven't really satisfied us yet one way or the other on how to best deal with their stormwater. And then this new proposal further changes what they had. So it'll be probably starting from almost scratch to come up with a proper plan that fits.
And all that information will be brought forward to council at the next appropriate time. Is that true, Mr. Parkinson?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc, is it a follow-up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
One of the residents brought up, since they're going to do semi-detached and single homes, are the facades on these new homes, you think they'll have bricks, or will they all be siding? So it'll match the rest of the neighborhood.
Mr. Walsh?
To the mayor, the reference to having signed something to commit to a brick or rock facade was imposed by the developer, as a covenant by the developer. It wasn't a standard of the municipality. Municipality of Brighton doesn't have design guidelines per se, and neither was an urban design guideline or study or report asked as part of a complete application. So it was never mandated or required of the applicant. So to say what the external materials are going to be, it's going to be largely determined by the developer.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just two things, just to kind of further on that. What the developer was showing us, the white sided with the green siding or green shutters, is very, very kind of an old fashioned type of design. I mean, are we allowed to impress upon them that we want a bit more of a modern design just to fit with, you know, the community a little bit more? Is that something? No, I know not at this stage. We're asking questions that we probably shouldn't be asking right now, but we're all, you know, it's a big development. We're trying to wrap our heads around it. So that would be my first question. Can we still, you know, press upon them that we would like a certain style of look, right? We have a lot of new housing going up. It'd be nice to continue on with something. I don't mean that they can't be sided, because I think that's too much to ask, but I live in a sided house. I think it looks okay. So, but can we impress upon them that?
Mr. Walsh?
To council, I think that it doesn't hurt to let a proponent know what your wishes are. But I think given the nature of our policies and guidelines in place, I think that's about all that we would be doing, is just saying, you know, this is of interest to council, and go from there.
Okay, just one more.
Supplementary.
Well, one more question. Again, an area that it comes up. I'm part of the Heritage Advisory Committee. These sorts of things are important to us, not only the look and style, but also the Grimes Brothers barn. And just making sure that somewhere along the line, something is included, that it's not going to be torn down and that we have opportunity to move it. Very important to many citizens of Brighton. And so I'll probably bring that up every time we discuss this, just to make sure we have something. We want something in writing, really, that that is suitable, because that's a piece of history we don't want to lose.
Mr. Walsh, do you have any comment?
I'm just going to delve into the official plan policy, see if there isn't something more on urban design or other facsimiles to those policies, and see if there's something there to rely upon.
And specific to the barn, it is a designated artifact, is it not, Deputy Mayor? Yeah. So they couldn't demolish it without. Well, we have. I mean,
Yeah, no, if it's designated, and we do have a demolition control, so it's designated, they can't demolish it without a permit, and the permit would trigger a heritage impact assessment. And basically, no, they wouldn't be able to tear it down.
my recollection is that the developer has suggested that they want to work with the municipality or a municipal group to have that barn moved to another location. So they are willing to work with us and or someone else to make that happen. And let's keep that top of mind when it comes to the barn as well. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for bringing that up about the barn. It was on my mind too, and a lot of people, but very good. My question was about the types of housing, single, detached, semi-detached. I've seen some of the properties that Mr. LeBlanc builds, and I think some of them would be approved by even the neighborhood. I think maybe there's a plan here to have a bit of a buffer of housing as well, blend from that area of concern gradually, but still have the condominiums. I presume I'm just sort of guessing, but the condominiums, would this all be condominium sites, or would these single detached and duplexes and whatever, would they be separate?
Mr. Walsh?
Because under a condominium corporation, that would have to be established pretty straight out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point, I don't know. I think this was a fairly late revision. You notice it wasn't in the staff report. It came in too late for that. So there hasn't been a lot of discussion on what the intentions are of the blocks. Normally, when I see blocks, I think each one will be if it's going to be a condominium, it would be a condominium unto itself. But commonly, you'll see developers today, the approach is to zone the block, build it out, and then do part lot control to create separate tenure. So I suspect that might be what will be done on the southerly blocks. I noticed that they don't describe them as condominium blocks on the south side as they do on the north side.
Because approving a zoning, I think it's a little bit rather important to have an idea about that. It goes in saying where I think I have the feel, along with a few other people here, I believe that we want to see fewer buildings on that property, a little more green space and more use of the land. And I have nothing wrong with, no problem with a sixplex even. Maybe even affordability will come into play on buildings like that, even versus duplexes and that type of thing. I think we want to see some more effort in the affordability area. And I think Mr. LeBlanc might be trying to work both sides of the street, which I'm in favor of, that he's trying to have some housing like everybody's suggesting, and at the same time have the condominium. I like the concept, as long as it, I agree on design or decor, but no, not decor, that's inside. And I've seen the insides, they look all right. So if you get where I'm coming from, I think hopefully he's listened and he's moving ahead, and it appears that way. And I hope to hear when he brings the site plan and everything else that things will go a lot quicker and smoother if he does, with me anyhow.
I think the map up on the screen shows us that the developer has certainly heard what the municipality is requesting.
That's what I'm.
Based on that alone. Councillor Bateman?
I just wanted to let everybody know a question I had emailed both the CAO and Mr. Walsh on Friday, because during the public meeting, there was a lot of concern, and we heard it tonight during the citizens' comments, was around parking. And I noticed when reading the report, there was two different numbers, the 1.66 per unit and the 1.5. And Mr. Walsh had responded, and that was due to the addition of the internal road. I thought that was just important to add, because if you just read it, you see two different numbers, and it caught my attention. But thank you for explaining that to me.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my question is around timelines. As we know, we try to have this meeting before the end of the year to work with the developer as well. I guess if we don't approve, or I'm assuming, where would this go from there? I know the developer also has some options if we kind of drag our heels much longer, because we are working within a time frame to approve something. So Mr. LeBlanc can.
As of right now, we're well within the planning timelines, but if we deny the zoning tonight, or if we approve the zoning tonight, there is an appeal process for anyone who wishes to do so. Mr. Walsh, would you like to go through that quickly? Bullet points.
Sure. Yeah, assuming COVID isn't in full emplacement and LPAT is going to actually receive appeals. When COVID hit in March, they wouldn't take any appeals whatsoever. But notwithstanding that, yeah, there's a 14-day appeal period. So there could be an appeal by the applicant if council fails to make a decision tonight after the prescribed number of days in which to make a decision are passed. 2, if council approves the zoning bylaw amendment, someone who doesn't like that decision, of course, could appeal, but there are only certain persons who can appeal. They would have needed to attend council, provide oral submission comments or written comments, participated in the public process in order to have that right of appeal. And thirdly, if the applicant didn't like council's final decision, they could appeal it as well.
You can.
Thank you. So, and I guess that's maybe part of my concern as well, that if this goes to LPAT at some point, and if the tribunal decides to approve regardless, we have already lost any control that we could have over working with Mr. LeBlanc then, right? So that's my understanding. Am I correct?
Just brief comment, essentially correct. The LPAT was named Local Planning Appeal Tribunal to allow appeals that were made to be recycled by LPAT before being brought back to council and giving council some direction as to what to consider in renewing its decision. With the last revision to LPAT, it's now a hearing de novo, meaning brand new hearing. It's like an application's never been made. So for those considering appeal, the hearing de novo can be a risky thing because you never know what new information might come forward, what new concept might come forward, and what new evidence might come forward in terms of engineering or planning evidence. But I say that without really having studied all the procedures under the new LPAT with the new government.
So generally what I say to folks who don't want us to make a decision on a file or just let it go to an appeal is that we're always better to make a decision and work with the developer to get what we want while, hopefully negotiating what they want as well. And in this case, you can see the extension of Iroquois, which comes out to Cedar, would never have been in the original, was never in the original design and would never have been considered. If we were to deny tonight, my understanding is that the developer could simply go to the LPAT and bring their original application, their original site plan, and say, this is what we want to build, and leave it up to someone from somewhere else to make that decision for us.
That's my concern, that if we don't make any kind of a decision, that we could lose the neighborhood could lose, the residents could lose, and we would have no say over what Mr. LeBlanc would maybe ultimately be able to do with that property.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, through your chair to the CAO. Basically, in Brighton, is there any condominium complex like this in Brighton? Because when I was knocking on doors to get elected and the citizens were asking, once we don't want to cut grass, is there any condominiums? Is there any apartments or any place we can go? Is there another place that could take this type of volume of residents?
I think you're asking a baiting question because I think you know the answer, Councillor LeBlanc, and the answer is probably no, but I'll look to our wiser friends at the end of the table here.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm new to the community. I'm certainly not aware of anything of the affordable nature to this amount of density within the community.
Mr. Walsh, do you have any comment on that by chance?
I would simply concur. It's a good location, and I'm surprised lands haven't been developed before now. So it would be nice to see something happen in general. There's a couple other things in the pre-consultation stages, but certainly not in the time frame that this would be.
Thank you, Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think we were all aware after the bill that was passed 10 days or so ago that developers can even skip going to LPAT and go straight to the minister, and he can make a ruling, and we have absolutely no control. So definitely it's better to work. And I think we want to work with developers. I don't think, and they also want to please. I can't imagine a developer wants to come in and just really tick everybody off.
It makes a lot of sense to work with the development community to get what we want as a municipality and for the community. It makes a lot of sense for the developers to work with us because these hearings can get expensive at the end of the day. And it makes sense for us to listen to the community to hear what they'd like to have happen. But you're right. I mean, the developer isn't going to build an unsaleable product in the community. And I think we'll find out soon enough when the site plan comes forward what the LeBlanc properties have in mind here.
And just further to that, Mayor, that also brings work here. Never mind the end product brings a lot of residential taxes. So, it's not necessarily a bad news story, but we want to do it most importantly for safety and health concerns, but also other concerns that residents have. So I think any other time we've worked as hard as we can with developers, and we should do the same now.
Thank you, Councillor Bateman.
I was just going to say exactly what Councillor Tadman had said, but actually under Bill 229 that they had just passed, the MZO order was already there. So I agree. And Deputy Mayor even said it's better to work with the developer and have somewhat of a say in how it's going to look because the MZO order was already there. So a developer could already take it to the Minister of Municipal Housing, and they've done it several times, but you don't want to be one of those communities or municipalities that just get bypassed. So it's better to work with any developer, not just this one, all of them, and be part of that process.
Absolutely. So I'm going to read, go ahead. Last one, okay?
I got one more minute one after this one. I still haven't used my 5 minutes, man. That's a procedure bylaw.
Yeah, carry on.
We're going to vote on it. I studied it.
Listen, buddy, there's no motion on the floor, so we're just talking now.
This through the CEO, this through your chair to the CEO, this proposed municipal road allowance. It ends. Does it attach itself to a road? To another road? Are you looking at attaching to looping something else to it? Or is there just going to be a cul-de-sac at the end so that a proper cul-de-sac that ends, that it comes? Is it going to go to another road, to another subdivision?
The intention, my understanding is the intention, it will attach to Iroquois.
Iroquois is way up north.
It would come up on the Lance properties. Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
Happy to jump in here. We can do a tag team here. The intention of the east-west road was to recognize that the Lance property is available for development as a result of Lower Trent going in and doing a reevaluation of the property. That was not the case perhaps 6 months ago or so. So this is some new information for staff and the community. So certainly that property will be developed in the future. We've asked Mr. LeBlanc to work with the new owner or the new proposed owner of the Lance lands. And I can't divulge that because it hasn't closed yet. But we're getting the two developers together to ensure that there's a connection. So the quick answer is that will not be a cul-de-sac. That will be connected to another route that will eventually go up on Iroquois.
You understand my concern because people have been living for these things for a while. So let's connect stuff and we don't end up with dead-end roads anymore. Thank you.
That is absolutely the intention here, to make sure there's connections on the roadways. I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council receives the staff report dated December 21st, 2020 regarding rezoning application Z18-19. That Council enact the amending zoning bylaw to rezone the lands legally described as Part 1 on 39R 12620 from Future Development Zone and Environmental Protection Zone to the Special Urban Residential Type 3-13 Holding Zone and Environmental Protection Zone. This is revised to include a 30-meter buffer area as attached here too. And that the Special Urban Residential Type 3-13 Holding Zone be subject to the following holding provisions that shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the municipality prior to receiving an amending zoning bylaw application to remove the holding symbol. A, an executed site plan agreement. B, the approval of a condominium subdivision application that involves conveyance to the satisfaction of the municipality. 1, sufficient lands to establish an internal public roadway serving to connect Cedar Street to westerly adjoining lands in an appropriate geometric alignment. 2, sufficient lands to establish an extended public street that connects Pier Drive and Nautical Lane. And 3, conveyance of lands for the purposes of establishing a public parkland comprised of the lands zoned, the environmental protection zone lands associated with Butler Creek. And C, a supplemental traffic impact statement and a supplemental stormwater management report in support of B1 above. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Rowley.
After any further discussion, I'd like a recorded vote, please.
Very well. Councillor LeBlanc. Very well. Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Rowley.
Councillor Emily Rowley.
I vote yes.
Councillor Mary Tadman.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Unanimously. Moving on in our agenda to notice of motions and motions. We have none this evening. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have no unfinished business recorded. We move into bylaws. The first is a bylaw with regard to the zoning of what we just discussed. And it's moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council gives a bylaw. Its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw under the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to amend bylaw number 140/2002 as otherwise amended of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton as it applies to certain lands located in Part 1, Plan 39R 12620, being part of Lot 1, Concession 1 in the Municipality of Brighton, to change the zoning from Future Development Zone to Special Urban Residential R3 Zone R3-13 zone to the environment and to the Environmental Protection EP zone for the Butler Creek Wetland and Municipal Park. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Once again, a recorded vote, please.
Very well. Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Rowley.
Councillor Emily Rowley,
I vote yes.
Councillor Chapman,
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. We move into our next bylaw, which is a temporary law enforcement officer appointment. Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 041/2020 to appoint fire chief and deputy fire chief as temporary law enforcement officers during the COVID-19 pandemic for the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, just to clarify, this is a housekeeping amendment. There was someone named in the old bylaw that is no longer employed by the municipality, and this corrects that issue. Is that correct? Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. There are no reports of advisory committees of council, reports, minutes, and council reports. We'll move into reports, minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council received the Lower Trent Conservation Board meeting minutes of November 12th, 2020. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could just maybe ask a question to our municipal reps that sit on the Lower Trent regarding the class action lawsuit. Is that another report that will be coming to the municipality at some point?
Councillors Bateman or Tadman, do you have any comment on that?
I think that makes reference to the class action lawsuit that's up near Oakville that was just brought up when we were talking about Bill 229 and different things. Some different municipalities have joined together because of they were overridden, whether it was with an MZO, and the residents and stuff have launched a class action lawsuit, named all the municipal councilors, the mayor, staff, and everybody else in it. So that's probably one of the danger zones of not having a say in development. That was just brought up as informational purposes at the Lower Trent meeting.
Councillor Tadman?
I think Councillor Bateman explained it very well. I was trying to think back and then it triggered. But I think also that we need to be aware that we can be in the same predicament if we make a decision and the residents don't like it, we could all be sued just like this. And I don't know whether they'll win in court, but it's costly when you have to go to court.
Councillor Bateman.
If anybody wants to see it, I can actually call it up again and email it over to the next few days. It is an interesting read because it's close to a $1 billion class action lawsuit. So it's worth the read. And since a lockdown is looming, you're going to need the reading material. So I can send you that.
I thought we had received it already, that information. I thought it came around already. I think maybe Ms. Bateman from the Lower Trent sent it to us perhaps after her presentation. Okay. Or it might have been Councillor Bateman. One of the Batemans, I think, sent it around to us. Councillor Rowley.
I would just like to have it resent then, please, because somewhere I've maybe lost it then. Thank you.
If you have that, Councillor Bateman, would you share it with members of council? Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Tadman?
Well, just to add to that, like that could bankrupt a municipality very quickly. So I really hope they rethink what they've brought forward.
Anything further? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Moving into correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. A request from Northumberland County for their ICON funding support, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman that council receive or direct staff to provide a letter of support for the Northumberland County to submit an application for ICON funding for the assistance to deliver broadband to underserviced areas. I assume we're going to support or direct staff to provide this letter. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. The next one is from Thrive Northumberland with a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council received the report from Thrive Northumberland regarding violence against women in Northumberland County 2020, and that council receive or support the request to pledge to continue to support community organizations and their work in preventing violence against women and children. Councillor Tadman, I assume, will be supporting that.
Yes, Mayor, and really need to support it because I take an awful lot of abuse from some of the councillors around here.
Well, never from the chair, Councillor Tadman.
No comment.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. We'll move into FYI correspondence, being the update from Northumberland County, December 14th to 18th, and it's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. The council received the Northumberland County update December 14th to 18th, 2020. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And that takes us to question period. Mr. Street, do we have anyone joining us to ask questions? Thank you. And with that, we will take a 10-minute recess before proceeding into closed session. But for the public, we will be ending the YouTube session and carrying on even when we come back into open session. Is that correct, or will we go back on YouTube? No. So even for the open session, which is our confirmatory bylaw and our adjournment, we will not be displayed on YouTube for that. So with that, I wish the public who's watching a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in 2021. May it be a significantly better year than 2020 was. And we are recessed for 10 minutes.